And God said, "Let there be
The
light."
Lord says, "Let my people go."
I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
This is the Talkin Bible podcast.
Hello and welcome to Talkin Bible with Rohan Bell. I'm down again today at the studio with Jeannie Schwarz. Hello, Jeannie.
Hi, Pastor Rohan. And look how good this studio looks, by the way.
It is coming along nicely,
it is.
isn't it? Yeah, it's coming along well.
We've upgraded.
We have upgraded, folks. We have indeed upgraded. It's been good. We've got a few bits and pieces and fancy cameras, and it's a lot better for socials and for reproduction than it used to be.
That's
Definitely.
right. Yes. Yeah. And so what are we talking about today?
Well, the heading in my Bible, in Matthew 20's version at least, probably in all of them, is Jesus again predicts his death.
Again.
Again.
Another warning.
Another warning.
Is it a warning or is it a preparation message?
Preparation, it could be. It could be indeed.
So this is Matthew 20, 17 to 19, and it occurs again in Mark 10, 32 to 34, and Luke 18, 31 to 34. Do you want me to just read them a bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
So they're walking to Jerusalem in Matthew here, and Jesus has the 12, and he takes them aside privately, and he says to them, "See, we're going up to Jerusalem. The Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and scribes, and they will condemn him to the death. They will hand him over to the Gentiles to be mocked, flogged, and crucified, and on the third day he will be raised." There's a lot of detail in that.
There's a lot of detail in that, isn't there?
Yeah, and in Mark it's very similar. They're on the road going to Jerusalem, and Jesus was walking ahead of them. The disciples were astonished at what he had just previously done, I suppose, but those who followed him were afraid. Those who followed him were afraid. That's the disciples?
That's the disciples. Yeah, they're afraid.
Taking the 12 aside again, he began to tell them the things that would happen to them. "See, we're going up to Jerusalem. The Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and the scribes, and they will condemn him to death. Then they'll hand him over to the Gentiles, and they will mock him, spit on him, flog him, and kill him. And he will rise after 3 days." And then Luke, again, it's very similar. While going up to Jerusalem, he took the 12 disciples aside privately, and he says to them on the way, "See, we're going to Jerusalem. The Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and scribes, and they will condemn him to death. They will hand him over to the Gentiles to be mocked, flogged, and crucified. On the third day, he will be raised."
Very similar there. There's a lot of,
yeah. But there's a lot of detail. The last time that he told them he was going to be killed, he did not mention that he was going to be handed over to the Gentiles. He didn't mention he was going to be mocked, flogged, and crucified.
No, what did he say in the last one?
Just walking to my death, I think, didn't he say?
Yeah,
no,
something.
They're going to, I can't remember.
Was that, we talked about that, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
So he set his face as a flint. He just basically said,
handed over. He's going to be betrayed.
Betrayed, he
handed
talked about.
over.
Yes, that's right. Betrayed
and on the
handed
third
over.
day he will rise.
That's right. Yeah, so he said that in the previous one. Now he's going in, it's like he's going a bit deeper and explaining a bit more of it this time around.
But listen to how gruesome it is. He's going to be mocked, flogged, and crucified. Why would he continue walking towards Jerusalem if he knows this is ahead of him?
Yeah. Well, that's the love of Jesus, that he knew that he was coming to earth to defeat the powers of darkness, and the way he was going to do that was through a gruesome, horrific death on the cross.
It seems to me he was in control of that death, though. He's walking towards it.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he is.
Because he's not captured here.
No, he didn't have to go, but he
There's
knew
no
that was his ultimate purpose.
following him or coming after him.
No, that's right. This is his ultimate purpose. So there's a bit of a cliche saying, but it's true that shed some light on Jesus' attitude. It says it wasn't the nails that held Jesus to the cross; it was his love for us that held him to the cross, which shows that we see that all the way through. The only way Jesus Christ gets on a cross is if he allows himself to be put on that cross. Because he actually says in the Garden of Gethsemane, he says to Peter, "Put your sword away. Don't you know I can call on 6 legions of angels and they'll protect me? But this is why I'm doing this. This is why I've come to earth to do this. So let me do it. I'm giving up my life. That's why I've come to earth."
This would have been very hard and depressing to hear because they were on their way to Jerusalem, on their way to Passover celebration, like a happy time.
At a time we talked about in the last
millions
episode,
of people coming.
They're expecting that he's going to potentially come and be that military Messiah, and this is going to be an awesome time. The kingdom, God's going to usher in the kingdom when we get to Jerusalem.
Yeah, and people, the Romans and stuff, were on guard as well because they had heard rumors if there was going to be somebody who would rise up and try to take over, they would do it at Passover.
Yep, that's right. They were aware of that. Yep. So they're expecting something, but they're not expecting this. And the fact that Jesus has to predict his death again shows didn't get it the first time around. So
Yeah,
it
this
goes
is
a
the
bit deeper.
third time,
This is now the
actually.
third time, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And in it, it seems he's going to suffer at the hands of religious leaders who will condemn him. And then the Gentiles would be the Romans who would mock, flog, and execute him. How they would, in their minds, see how that would happen, I don't know. The crossover between the religious people to the Romans.
Yeah, that would not have been how it would have worked. And the only ultimate reason the Romans were brought on board was because the Jews felt they couldn't justifiably, even though their law required death because they thought he was a blasphemer, because they were under Roman occupation, they couldn't put a man to death. Their law required that, they had to put someone to death who's blaspheming, but the Romans wouldn't let them, so they had to hand them over to Romans, and then they had to convince the Romans that he was worthy of death.
There's a lot of effort going into this.
A lot of effort going, because the argument they use, this man claims to be God. They say to Pontius Pilate. Pontius Pilate goes, I don't care. That's not a sin worthy of Roman execution. So then they have to twist it and manipulate it. This man claimed to be a king. Anyone who is a king opposes Caesar. Therefore, you have to put him to death. So he was actually crucified by the Romans for a different quote-unquote crime than the Jews wanted to put him to death for. So they manipulated, like you said, a lot of work. They manipulated. They were hell-bent, and that's probably a good choice of word. They were hell-bent on crucifying him, getting him killed, getting him out of the way. And Jesus knew all this.
Yeah, he very clearly knew this, didn't he?
Yep.
This is one of those moments where he actually does know the future, or he seems to be in connection to his godness.
Yep. Absolutely.
But is crucifixion a noble death?
No, totally ignoble.
So what would that have felt like, you think, to disciples? Here's our Messiah. He's going to be killed by crucifixion, which was not noble, as you said.
No, it was the opposite of nobility.
Humiliating.
That's a good choice of word, actually. Humiliating. Yeah, this was one of the most humiliating, torturous deaths that anyone could endure at that time. And so for Jesus to go through that and willingly go through that demonstrates something of his upside-down kingdom, that he's showing that the way up, we talked about this, the way up is the way down. Let me show you by going all the way down and dying on a cross. You can't get much lower than that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think I would have wanted to walk to Jerusalem. I don't think I would have wanted to walk with him at this point.
You'd be worried about what's going to happen?
Yeah, well, it says they're afraid. What do you think they're afraid of?
It could be that they're afraid of that they're going to get caught up in whatever Jesus is saying. Oh, this is not what we expected. So what if we get crucified and flogged? I reckon there's an element there of selfishness in it, about their own fear.
Because it seems imminent.
Yeah.
He says, see, we are going up to Jerusalem,
Yeah, we're on
and
our
it's
way.
about to happen. It's not vague. It's not a distant prophecy. Like, this is about to happen.
He's talking now specifically to it happening, yeah.
How could you hear this and then go and have the Passover meal and be reclining, drinking your wine and acting like it's not going to happen, maybe?
I think it comes back to the hiddenness
question.
again. We talked about this previously. It says that the message was hidden from them. There was a sense in which maybe they were partially blinded by grace, by the grace of God, so they wouldn't fully grasp it, so that they would stay with Jesus and go through it, because they could have hightailed it for the hills too early. It wouldn't have worked if they hadn't have got there, sit there, been all the way through the process, seen Jesus crucified. That was what was going to ultimately enable them to testify, hey, we saw him die. So maybe the hiddenness was a grace thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. This is it's hard to read because when you think about this and raising the questions, who is Jesus? Who is he to you in this moment?
I'm going to go with Jesus here shows two things. It's probably similar to what we said on the last episode about this. One, he cares enough about us to give us a pre-warning about what's going to happen to him. But two, I think the thing that probably stands out to me the most is this demonstrates his absolute selflessness, that he knew this was going to happen and he's still prepared to go through it all the way to the cross, because he knew that this was the only way that he was going to redeem us. So he's prepared to go through that for us. So let's go with selflessness. Jesus is selfless in this story.
Selfless? All right. Anything else?
How about you have a go? What does he say to you?
Well, I often think about this in the context of the entire story, which is not an easy thing to discuss in 10 minutes, which we've got, but God had tried to have a relationship with his people many, many times, and he introduced the whole sacrificial system. And, he appears on the mountain, or he appears, his presence is in the temple or the tabernacle. But when the way I read it, it's almost like they didn't understand what his love was or how much he loved them. And so I'm wondering if Jesus did this because it wasn't until that point, which he even says, no greater man, what is it, who lays down his life for someone.
For a friend, yep.
Yeah, it's like the entire world is asking, what is love? And in this one act, Jesus shows, this is love.
This is love. I like that. So this is who is Jesus? He's demonstrating what love really is in this act.
Yeah, giving up everything I have for you. Like we talked about on the parable, looking for the treasure, and you so succinctly explained that the person is a treasure, and that Jesus looks for us. And in this way, he's demonstrating that true treasure is us, but that we don't understand how much his love is until he shows us what love actually means.
Great. I like it. Yep. So when he says, as I have loved you, so you should love one another, we go, well, how have you loved me, Jesus? Well, the greatest demonstration of his love is his death. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
And that when you read the Bible, that's how I see it playing out, because the Israelites have had a relationship with God. They have had moments of huge miracles, and they've seen his ability to create things out of words, and they've seen everything.
Yes.
They've seen the walls of Jericho come down, but they haven't seen a humiliated person of God himself, revealing himself in a way that would be so different to anything that they imagined, that, hey, what you have lacked in my relationship with you is an understanding of what love is.
That's great. Well said.
And now I'm going to show you what it is.
Yes, that's right. Let me show you what love is. Very good.
Yes, I will give away everything to go and buy you. Buy your field in that other,
in the other parable
we're talking about.
I love that. And that's a demonstration. It's not just words. Let me show you my love. We talked about this previously in the last couple of weeks. It's the kenosis of Christ, the Philippians 2, that he didn't hold on to equality with God, but he made himself nothing and became a servant, willing to die on a cross. That's the demonstration of God's love. How low he was prepared to come down in order to rescue us. True love gets down in the mess.
It gets down and dirty.
Down and dirty.
The mess.
And that's what Jesus does.
And then when he says the new commandment, love one another as I have loved you, I don't think many people will have the opportunity, thankfully, to lay down their life, at least in our world. But it certainly shows you, give away everything that you have.
Give up everything. Are you prepared to love someone to the point where you would give up your life for them? That's what true love is. I mean, we intuitively know that love is a selfless act. It's if I'm loving someone, I'm going to do something for them. If it's not real love unless it's giving up something for the other person. So Jesus is just turning up the volume on that, putting it on steroids and saying it's actually giving up everything for that other person. That's what godly love is all about.
There's something else I see in this, and agree or disagree. I think you might agree, actually, in the end, because maybe I've heard you preach this, so I'm ripping it off you.
You can take it, but I don't know what you're going to say yet.
It's amazing what you said. No, now I've lost it. No, so Jesus here, he quietly pulls them aside, right? And he says to them, this is going to happen. I'm going to die. But there's also this message to them, unknown at this point, that everything you thought you knew is all going to be radically changed in an instant. So it's like there's an invitation, a preparation for a life completely different to the one that you thought you were going to live.
Yes.
There's possibilities, endless possibilities in this new world, this new kingdom.
Totally.
Right? And so it's there, but they're not going to realize that.
They're not going to realize that.
All of the things they were living for, their Messiah being the revolutionary and taking over Israel with a military conquest, that's all going to die
and that
on the cross.
Big, but that's actually small compared to what they would ultimately be called to.
Yes, yeah. That was left on the cross.
Yep.
Now there's this new life of make people into people like me, which is disciples.
Make disciples. Yep. Make disciples. And do it in all the world. So you're not just going to be, you thought you were going to reign in Jerusalem. It's going to be more than that. Philip's going to head off to India and preach to the Indians. Paul and Peter are going to end up martyred in Rome after spreading the gospel across the northern Mediterranean regions. Down into Africa, others are going to go. These guys and many, many women are going to make disciples, and their life is going to look radically different. And, you know, maybe some of us might, listen to this, you might travel the world and do missionary work. But, you know, I've not done missionary work, and yet my life is radically different to what I thought it was going to be. I grew up thinking I was going to be in the merchant navy and you know,
really?
travel the world. And my dad was in the military navy. I wanted to do the merchant navy. I got accepted into a scholarship to have a full expenses paid university degree. Became a Christian. Gave all that up. Met Jill. You know, and doing pastoral ministry. 35 years on. That's radically different to what I thought my life was going to be. But yet I wouldn't trade it for anything. And so for all of us, that's what God has for us. He's going to, through his love, he loves us enough to set us on a different trajectory of discipleship to what we thought. But it's the best life. It's the best life. And it's demonstrated in giving up his life for us. So now we find our best life in giving up our lives for others.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued to know more about your story there, but we'll get to that
Do that on a different podcast.
another time. And my thing is, like, I can't believe we're still talking about this guy. And why are we, like, 2,000 years later, after those disciples went out, here we are in this little studio talking about this action.
Because for 2,000 years, disciples have been making disciples who make disciples who make disciples. That's why.
So it matters how involved you are in your kingdom walk.
It sure
to
does.
use that real
to use
Christian
the
term
race
or
analogy that we used, it's a relay race. And so when we get to the end of our race, we're supposed to pass on a baton to another and to others. And if we aren't passing, not even at the end, or along the way, we should always be bringing people into the race and giving them a baton and saying, start running. And if we aren't passing on batons, then this is the irony of it, is that the Church of Jesus is only ever one generation away from extinction. If every Christian today decided they weren't going to make disciples, they were going to try to be a disciple without making disciples, well, we're not going to have any church. It's not going to exist in one generation's time. But 2,000 years later, the way it's happened is that disciples have understood and taken Jesus' call seriously and gone, okay, I'm going to make disciples by giving up my life. I'm going to surrender my will, my desires, my own comforts. Jesus is my example. He gave up everything for me. I'm going to give up for Jesus in my finances, my time, my talent. We say the time, talent, and treasure. I'm going to give those things up for the kingdom of God, and that will make disciples. And here we are, the beneficiaries of that 2,000 years later. Generation after generation after generation across the world of people and churches that have committed to living this loving life that gives up for others.
So a disciple then is somebody who has been confronted by the death of Jesus and it has changed their heart. They've considered this to be an act of love
Very
for
good.
them.
I like that. Yeah, a good way to put it.
Because this is the point in the story of the Bible where it's arresting.
Yes.
And Jesus does get arrested.
He gets arrested. Very good.
It's arresting because I love all the tradition. I love all the festivals and all of that. And I love lighting candles in churches. I think I've said that before. But to actually contemplate this act requires a commitment to sit down and think it through and allow it to
the weight of it
influence you, I suppose.
Yeah, that's definitely right. It's a process of thinking through, what does Jesus' death mean for him? And therefore, what are the implications of that death for me? And therefore, what are the implications for how I'm expected to live my life as a result of what he's done for me?
Yeah. And I think it's also a realization of how valuable every person is, or how valuable I am or you are. And that is confronting because you just think you're, one person in a sea of millions, billions, but the gospel is able to speak directly to your heart.
Very good. I like that. Yeah, that's right. Deep into our heart as we look at this Jesus.
And the more you spend time thinking about Jesus, I tell you, the more he spends time messing with you.
Yeah, we become
So
like
there's a
him.
warning.
So who is this Jesus?
Yes.
He is a guy that we can grow and become like as we look at how radical he was in the way he conducted himself, the things he said and did, which are so outside the box. The person who was prepared to go, I'm going to a cross.
Yeah, and he was brave.
Yep.
Courageous. He was more concerned about his disciples.
Yep.
He was warning them, preparing them, and he went boldly.
Yes, he did. He did indeed.
Yeah, I'm still getting it. I don't know, not getting it. Questions, more questions.
Lots of questions.
Yeah.
Keep asking questions and keep letting Jesus answer them. Keep listening to podcasts, keep learning, keep praying.
Yeah.
You'll learn more and more as you go.
Yeah, so should we
Wrap it up?
back together tomorrow and
Yep.
do another one?
All right, we'll do another one. We'll talk to you tomorrow, everybody.